Hi, welcome to the pre-video to your artisan visit and introduction to Sefrou. I want to take this opportunity by using this beautiful tool, which is an overview, hand-drawn illustrative map by Alex Hotchin, who is an Australian artist who came to stay with us in Sefrou, and she very generously donated this original piece to Culture Vultures and the Sefrou Musuem of Multiculturalism. And so I feel like it's just a great opportunity to explain a few things to you about Sefrou before we head in to our Sefrou visit and to meet some of the artisans. So very briefly, just to let you know the history of Sefrou in a split second, over 2,000 years in one split second is, well, in fact, more than 2,000 years ago, but 3,000 years ago, we have Amazigh, aka the Berbers, locally known as the Amazigh. They've been in Morocco for thousands of years, and they are the original North African indigenous people. And along came the Jews 2,000 and a few hundred years ago. There's evidence of the Jews coming with the Romans, if not before. And there have been in the past such cultures as Amazigh Jews, which are definitely worth looking up. A really fascinating hybrid culture here in North Africa. And then 1,220 years ago, Islam arrived with the Arabs and many other people, with Moulay Idris I, who was the founder of Islam in Morocco, and he settled on a Roman site. And now you have his tomb, which is in Moulay Idris Zurhoun, which is the holy mountain, which is just a few kilometers away from an ancient Roman site, which is about 50 kilometers away from Sefrou. So we have very close Romans ruling. We were definitely in a Roman empire, if you like. And then, so we're looking at Amazigh, who are the original people, Jewish, and then also Jewish Amazigh, or Amazigh Jewish, and then Romans, and then Islam. And Sefrou was impacted by all of those cultures. And then, of course, the French, 108 years ago, or 110 years ago, the French arrived, and Sefrou was in that first wave of council cities governed by the French. There were 7 small, well, some of them were bigger cities, but Sefrou was a small town that was chosen by the French to be developed and also be governed by the French. So many different influences. But as we look at this map, I just want to point out that Sefrou is founded on a river, and the river is called the River Gai. And you can see the Medina, and this is a map just of the Medina. This area here, I'm going to point to it, this black line here is the Medina walls, with various entrances and gates. Here, there's a gate, and there's a gate here, and a gate here, and there, and there. And then a large proportion, which is very unusual, that to have the Mella, which is the Jewish area, and all the old cities and old towns in Morocco have Mellas, which means salt, in fact, but indicates the Jewish area, is inside the walls and also very large in proportion to the Medina itself, the old city. And Sefrou was really popular as a Jewish settlement, and for a long time, for thousands of years, until the creation of Israel, and a lot of the economy changed at the same time the French left Morocco in the 1950s. And a lot of the economy changed dramatically very quickly, and all the Jews left Sefrou. We have no Jewish people left in Sefrou, sadly to say, but it's a very important heritage that was left and still leaves its mark on Sefrou today, albeit very subtle, which brings me to the crafts and the artisans, because in fact all the crafts are thanks to the Jewish culture. We have a lot of jewellery shops in Sefrou for the size of town that it is, and we're not far away from one of the imperial capitals of Fez. We have a lot of small jewellery shops, and they're left behind from the Jewish heritage. Dowries given at weddings are still very important And so they still do survive, given that there's a good dozen, if not a dozen and a half, jewellery shops in a small town like Sefrou. I should also just indicate that Sefrou is at the base of the Middle Atlas Mountains. We're only 30 kilometres away from Fez, which was an imperial capital, on and off a couple of times over. And then we have the mountains, and over the mountains we have the Sahara. And Sefrou was really built as a market town and a sort of pit stop, if you like, for caravans of traders with their pack animals that were either coming from the mountains, potentially from the desert, from other cultures and other lands, over the mountains and to an important trading city like Fez, and maybe even further beyond and over to the Mediterranean. Or they were coming that way and going over the mountains. And so Sefrou was a small market town, a small trading town, a place to stock up, a place to trade, a place to exchange one's wares and get the necessary needs to change the environment and the landscape as they came over the mountains or were going up the mountains one way or the other. But it's very much a market town. I'm going to stop there before I rant on too much, because I would love to keep your attention, and that's just a very quick overview of the history of Sefrou and the town that I'm going to share some of it with you in the coming visit. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to meeting you.